Hey guys, let's talk about some movies. This week we reviewed Bronson, the second film in our series directed by Nicolas Refn, starring Tom Hardy and Tom Hardy's penis. And no one else really. At least they don't make you wait to see the nudity. I mean, it's right there in the first 5 minutes. Bronson is a film about Michael Peterson, aka Charlie Bronson, who's the UK's most notorious violent prisoner. He's still alive today, was not allowed to see the movie, but he said if his mom liked it, he would like it, and apparently she loved it, so good for her. The film is told mostly from a first person perspective of Charlie Bronson as a sort of monologue about his life and basically his view on humanity and the world. Here's what I was expecting from this film, having seen Drive. I was expecting it to be an art house sort of film with an interesting soundtrack and some pretty solid acting. I would have to say, based on those expectations of mine, this film succeeded. Let's start with this being an art house film. The cinematography did not disappoint. Based on what I saw on Drive, that movie was shot beautifully. This movie was also shot beautifully. There's no surprises there. This was sort of a darker, more gritty atmosphere than Drive was. Even though Drive was a dark movie, this is darker. The shots are more composed like a series of photographs that occasionally move, instead of where you see in most movies they change the camera angle every 8 to 10 seconds so the audience doesn't get bored. This isn't that kind of movie. I thought, like Drive, the pacing could be a little bit slow and it might throw some people off. Really, it's just methodical in its exploration of the craziness that is this character. Personally, I thought that it engaged you with his character more, that you were so in his head, and they really took their time explaining how crazy he was. You get inside his head and it doesn't feel nice, and that's rare for movies. The film is interspersed with scenes of Charlie Bronson performing a dramatic monologue in front of a faceless audience. I felt that these scenes were the best, most memorable scenes of the film. I imagine it's supposed to be a glimpse into Charlie's head as he sits in solitary year after year telling his story to an imaginary audience. He tells it like he's some sort of tragic hero, sort of like Satan in Paradise Lost. The character seems to want your accolades and your understanding, but really he's just an evil son of a bitch. Secondly, the soundtrack. It was reminiscent of Drive. There's a lot of that same sort of electro-pop, synth-heavy music, which is also accented by classical numbers and songs with seemingly outlandish vocals, particularly that first song, which seems really strange and jarring at first, but you actually kind of end up digging it. At least I did. There's also the scene where they're dancing in the mental institution, and that music combined with that scene, I don't know if it was supposed to be funny, but I was laughing, so. Thirdly, and probably most impressive for this film, is the acting. This really was a tour de force for Tom Hardy. He carried the movie pretty much on his own. In my opinion, he might have had an Oscar snub. I don't know if he should have won for this movie, but I think he probably deserved a nod, at least. The scene in particular where Tom Hardy is having the two-faced interaction with himself, sort of that ebony and ivory thing, I thought that was just acting gold, just genius. I thought that Tom Hardy did a good job of portraying a darkly humorous portrait of a man who is clearly a sociopath. I feel that Matt King as Paul Daniels also deserves some recognition because he just made it creepier. He deserves a nod for being memorable in a movie that really was a one-man show. He's sort of like a creepier mix of Jeff Goldblum and Andy Warhol. So what are my final thoughts? Bronson is a film about a man whose only emotional response to the world is rage and violence. He's self-absorbed and arrogant, and he's the antagonist in a world of protagonists in this movie. It was an incredibly well-made film, comparable in mood and feel to A Clockwork Orange. There's been a lot of comparisons to that film, and I think they're justified. Although I don't think it's going to be considered as iconic in 20 years as much as A Clockwork Orange was. I definitely recommend this movie for art house film lovers. If you like to drive, you'll like this. In particular, I recommend it for people who are fascinated by films that explore criminal minds, like A Clockwork Orange, or prison dramas like Shawshank Redemption or Shutter Island. I don't recommend it for younger audiences. Clearly, they may be offended by the frequent full frontal nudity. Lots of penis flapping. My wife's reaction was, huh. Oh, good. Thanks, honey. Penis. And harsh language. Lots of C words. That's like the one word that gets me kind of... I don't like it. Gross. Of my scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give this a 7.5. Definitely recommend it. Very good movie. I don't know that I would buy it, but I'm glad I saw it. It was enjoyable. It was artistic. Definitely not going to forget about it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and like and subscribe if you enjoyed this at all. Thanks for getting me on the show 2 weeks in a row. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks, guys.